Hey everyone, Dan Saavedra here from MergeYourData, and we are on day 24 of the 90-day YouTube sprint on signal analytics. And today we are continuing last video's topic of lead scores and how those roll up into signals. And today we're going to be going over the ingredients of different lead scores. So these are the individual parts that go into the lead score calculations. We went over the categories last time, and so we'll go into the specific data points inside of those categories on this one. So who is this video for? It is for the leadership plus the team in the trio being marketing, sales, and RevOps. And then this is also for IT. So as we discussed in the last video, lead scores are a strategic endeavor. So leadership should be dictating a lot of that conversation. And then the team here is going to be implementing these scores, using them for automations, using them for analysis. And so they'll be involved in this as well. And then because we need data to be pulling in from third-party systems with a lot of these ingredients, or to be pulling in from the website, making sure that tracking is set up correctly. We'll need IT's involvement. If you have someone who specializes in IT, could also be marketing ops, sales ops, if you have that. Someone who is versed in the technological area. And so please note, before we go into these, it's going to be a lot of text. And so these are not all required to have. These are the list of what you can pick and choose from. Scores will have different components, different ingredients that make it taste good if we think of it as an actual recipe. You don't just throw everything in your pantry in the oven and then eat it, right? You pick out specific ingredients and then you have specific amounts of ingredients, and that makes up your actual food that's output that you eat. And so it's the same thing with lead scores. You're going to want to select the correct ingredients at the correct measurements or the correct quantities so that you can then have those as an aggregate lead score that you consume as a whole later on. So we want to make sure that we're not just throwing all of these into a lead score and calling it a day. We have to test, we have to build scores, we have to look back and see what those actually performed as, see if they're accurate or not. And so it's just what is possible. And as a reminder, signals is about picking and choosing what is the most important data points to look at based on evidence. Like I just said, we're picking and choosing. And then we're looking and seeing what that comes up with. If we put all the ingredients together and then we get a crappy tasting bread, then we go back to the drawing board, we see if we have to change the quantities or if we have to change the ingredients themselves, add something, subtract something. You get the idea. So pick the data points to go into your lead scores. And then once again, this leads to lead scores are an aggregate signal. When we're looking at signals, we want to be able to see a select few that indicate with high probability whether something is a negative or positive signal and then act based off of that. We don't want to have to be analyzing thousands of data points manually to try to see which signals of those data points are actually occurring. Instead, we want to make sure that there's a smaller subset to pick from so that we can pick and choose efficiently and effectively. You're not going to be able to put in 5,000 different data points, different types of data points into a lead score. Maybe if you have a data scientist on hand, you can come up with something like that. I don't know if that's too complex. We've never done it ourselves. I haven't seen anyone who's successfully done it. A lot of times, simpler is better. If you can just find the very few data points that are actually leading to some indication of interest, then that's what you should go with. So just a note before we get into it. So we're going to start out with position as the first category. Everything in green is the actual ingredient, the detailed data point. And then white, I have some examples here. So first one we have is lead stage or lead status. If you have a HubSpot setup and you're using the lead object, then you might have stages that it goes through. If you're just using the status, that's okay too. This is the object or property that represents something that can continuously cycle through the lead stages. It doesn't have to go one direction. It can come back to the beginning at any time. You can create another record if it's an actual lead object associated with a contact, if someone re-enters the lead stage, stuff like that. So this is the stage where the lead currently resides or the status of it. Lifecycle stage we've talked about in previous videos. It's the furthest point along a linear journey that the prospect makes in your lifecycle stages. So the broader lifecycle category, the contact is in, this is wrong. I have the wrong word in there. but it's the contact is in. So subscriber, lead, MQL, SQL, opportunity, customer, and evangelist. Then we have deal stage. So the deals that are associated with the company or the contact, how far are they in that pipeline? Where are they at? Deal status. So this is the current state of that deal, not the lead, of the deal. Put the lead in there, that's wrong. But of the deal, of the stage it's in. So it's more detailed. If someone is sitting in something like a contract sent stage, right? Maybe you can update it with more refinement with the deal status. You have some different options for drop down that indicate some other type of state that they're in other than the stage. So it's a little bit more detailed than a deal stage. Deal status is the more detailed version of what's going on in that stage. Conversion probability. So this is the likelihood of the lead moving to the next stage in the pipeline or of the deal to the next stage in the pipeline, often calculated based on historical data. So you want to be measuring things like a conversion from one stage to the next stage, from one stage with a skip stage in between, from the very beginning to the very end of the stages. You get the idea. This is a positional based ingredient, something that's really critical in a lot of the analysis we do. Pipeline velocity, so this is the speed that someone is moving through the pipeline stages, deal, contact, company, doesn't matter. It indicates their momentum toward conversion. So if someone's moving very fast through the whatever life cycle stages or deal stages, you just want to get out of the way and allow them to just keep going, keep their momentum. You just want to keep pulling them along. If someone has slowed down significantly, it can mean another thing. So that position is more of a negative indicator. Historical stage movement. This is tracking the lead's progress through different stages over time, including any regressions or stalls. So this is more looking at like the actual journey of the stage movements. If they, let's say a deal stage moved forward and then it jumped back and then it sat in this stage for a while and then it skipped a stage, whatever it may be. This is just something that you can calculate and observe and then use as a lead score. So all these ingredients are considered the position category for when we're calculating lead scores. You can take a few of these, you can combine them with other categories. You take your pick. And then next we're going to go into the insight category. So the insight category is everything. If I can get this presentation to click here, we'll just scroll down. Insight category. So this is all the stuff that you collect. So we have the direct data collection, anything on a form, on a meeting. This is the first party information. Surveys are included in that. It can be anything. It can be overlapping with these other ingredients we have down here. So firmographics might be something that you collect with more accuracy during a call, right? Because sometimes the third-party tools aren't correct. Third-party data is insights gathered from external tools. This could be LinkedIn, industry reports, competitive analysis. It could be intent data from third-party signal tools that we've talked about before. So this is stuff that you can combine with data you're collecting directly and then obviously build out with other categories of ingredients. Can be pretty useful depending on the accuracy. We talked about the downsides in previous videos. It can be difficult to get confirmation of how accurate that data is. Firmographics is anything company specific, revenue, employee count, geographic location, market presence. Some people include technology stack in those firmographics, but we break it out separately here because we can verify on a call. So it's also part of direct data collection or through other observational methods of what technology they have. Sometimes the firmographic data and the third-party data miss this, especially if it's an internal-only tool. So this is just information about the technologies and tools a prospect's company currently uses. Pain points and needs. This one's a really critical one. We usually weigh pretty heavily around this. These are specific challenges or needs identified during prospect interactions or research. The prospect interaction pain points that are collected are weighed more heavily in our lead scores than ones that we research. You can also extrapolate pain points and needs based off of other situational signals. So sometimes you'll see a lot of posts around this on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff about how you can see certain triggers if they're hiring for a certain position or if they're doing research around a certain tool or they just had a fundraising round. Then you can maybe guess some of these pain points with accuracy depending on how good you are with cross-referencing all that data. And then last in this section is engagement history, historical data on previous interactions with your company, such as past purchases, previous inquiries, or demo requests. So this will be everything on your activity timeline inside of HubSpot, and then associated data that you collect around the contact company or deal. Behavior. So I'll start off, it's not listed in here, but it's engagement history, but it's actually in behavior, which would be your product usage data. And so there's a lot of product usage data that can be used for lead scores. And so I missed that one while listing it out, but I just want to mention that before we go into the actual section. So this one is everything that can be tracked with your website, with social media platforms, with some of these signal capture tools that use fingerprinting to identify people across the web. So you have website visits, content engagement, email interactions, social media engagement, event participation, trial signups or demos. That's part of the product usage data. And then referral activity as well. We consider referral activity a behavior. And so especially if the person is doing the referring, that's a pretty good signal of them being engaged and loving the product and possibly being open to work with us on additional scopes, additional products, additional services, our clients with additional products and services. And so that can be a strong indicator as well. The event participation one, I want to call out just because these can be online and offline. So obviously the online ones, sync that all with your CRM, not too difficult to do. But when you do trade shows, when you do company hosted events that are in person, it can be very difficult to understand and capture that data. The simplest approach is just taking anyone who's signed up and who has had interactions with you and just uploading that to your CRM. You don't have to enroll them in a sequence if they're not a relevant prospect. Let's say they just scanned a badge or something at a conference. You just log that in your CRM so you have that later on. Maybe you can retarget them passively with some ads, send them some direct mail campaigns, something like that. You don't need to bombard them with calls or emails. If you do, that's your decision. You can see the data around that, whether it's efficient or not. But that's the simplest way to go about in-person events. You can get more complex and detailed with this. There are companies who offer more like geolocation-based type data where you can see who's walked by and maybe viewed a billboard or something like that. We don't get into that type of detail. We don't think it's really worth the analysis at the level that we're doing. Some people really like it from an attribution perspective, so that's just not our cup of tea. We don't have experience with it, so I'm not going to talk like it's a great thing or that we know it. Next category, time. So this can be a little confused with position categories, but time is specifically related to how long they've been in certain positions. That's pretty much the summary, I guess. Position would be where they're actually at in a timeline or in some type of journey. Time would be how long they've been stuck at one place or whether the amount of time to transition from one phase to another. So we have like recency of engagement, we have frequency of engagement, duration of engagement, lead aging, time between interactions, and response time as well. And so each of these are associated with actions they've taken or actions that your automations have taken. And so they're pretty self-explanatory. Recency of engagement, this is how recently the lead interacted with your company. It can be a last website visit, most recent email click. Frequency of engagement, this could be over a certain period of time. It can be all time as well if you want, but frequency of engagement could be like last 30 days, right? Because if you are engaging on average once every 2 days, something like that, then you are clearly more interested and more engaged with the brand, likelier to convert. Duration of engagement. So this so we have it as the length of time the lead has been engaged with your company from the first touch point to the present. That's a really broad definition, and we don't typically follow that exactly. The duration of the engagement could be measured in a lot of ways. It could be from the very first time that they entered your CRM to now. It could be the first estimated time that they interacted with your brand. It could be from when they signed up as a customer and became a user of your product or your service and how long that's been. So there's a lot of durations of engagement that you can measure there. Lead aging is the amount of time since the lead was first captured or entered into your system. So this overlaps with the duration of engagement. Broke it out a little separately. Time between interactions, that one's pretty straightforward. So this can be the interval between the lead's interactions. So if they open an email and then they download content 4 days later or 2 days later, you can use that measurement. It's a time ingredient. And then response time, this is just you reach out to them, how quickly do they respond? Pretty straightforward. And so these are all the ingredients that go into these categories. There are more ingredients, but for this video, obviously I don't want to just keep going into these. There are thousands of data points that you can collect in these categories. These are the most popular ones that we consider. They're usually the easiest to measure. They're more universal. They also provide enough bang for your buck to not have to go deeper into any other types of data points. And so these are the ones that we typically start with. And then you can always get deeper and deeper into it. And plus, a lot of these break up even further, right? So if you're looking at a position, you can slice and dice just the life cycle stage among, or as many times as you have life cycle stages, right? And then when you're talking about calculating the actual lead score, since we're not just doing 100% life cycle stage based lead score, we're going to be combining it maybe with firmographics and then maybe with the recency of engagement. And so we're trying to figure out those ratios. So even with just this amount of ingredients, we're talking about millions and millions. I don't know the actual math, but probably millions of combinations that you can come up with there. So that's why we're not going to go any deeper. Let's go to the next one. So last but not least, take one action, like, comment, share in a company chat. We did not go into examples on this, but we will be going into examples on the next video. So didn't want to go too far over. It's been 15 minutes already, so I don't want to keep going further and further into examples. This one might have been a little bit of a drier video, to be honest. I don't know if it was useful. Comment, tell me. Next video, so is part 3 of lead scores. We're going to continue this one more time. We're going to do examples. Last but not least, get the free Signal Constructor tool. Sign up at the link in the bio to get it. You will literally be able to pick out from our list of metrics, our list of dimensions, our list of actions, combinations that you can define for your team so that you know exactly when all this stuff happens, what action to take. And you can communicate that with your team. You can automate it. You can really tie everything back together so that you are efficiently closing deals. You know what signals to look for, what signals to watch out for to downsell or to kick people out of the pipeline because they're a waste of time or just not to engage with them. So this tool helps you build that. Highly, highly recommend it. Got some great feedback on it already. Last but not least, if you have been watching these videos, you are curious in about signal analytics and how it can actually boost your revenue over the next 6 months here. We've had previous videos where I've gone into 2 of the case studies of our clients and the results that they've gotten, and they see great results in a quarter or 2 quarters or both or more. And so if you think that that might be something that you're interested in, reach out to us. Go to MergeYourData.com. Book a call with our team. I'm Dan Saavedra. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.